responsibility, the person who owns that tree by and large. Now, of course, if your tree is falling on your house, phone 911 and we will assist you. But we will make it as easy as possible for citizens to be able to manage that cleanup, and we'll get that done. This is a surprising moment, right? Of course, the weight of the snow has landed on deciduous trees that have leaves that are not designed to carry the weight of the snow when they're in full leaf. And so we are going to see some real damage, and that is an extraordinary shame. I know how hard generations of people in this community have worked to build the tree canopy, but right now our focus is to make sure that those falling limbs don't hurt people and don't cause further damage.
Has this storm in any way impacted city services? How you respond to normal everyday stuff or even emergencies?
We're extremely busy. 911 and 311 are, I wouldn't say overwhelmed because they know what they're doing and they're good at this, but they are very, very high call volumes. So far, so good. Things are continuing. There is some disruption with power outages, for example. Some rec centers are closed across the city, but by and large, work goes on, and absolutely emergency responders are there, and they will continue to do the work that they need to do for emergencies, and we have no problems there.
Are you getting any sense yet? I realize it's still happening, real time and all that, but the cleanup, this could take days, weeks?
Yeah. I imagine that it will. We don't have a sense of it yet, but certainly depending on the type, depending on the part of the city you're in. Here in Crescent Heights, even just coming up here just now, I was shocked at the damage. Out in the Bald Prairie, where I live in Northeast Calgary this morning, there was a little less damage, but we certainly this is not something that will be cleaned up by the next garbage pickup. Okay, thank you all.
So I'm going to have a lineup of folks that are going to present to you the situation as we manage forward here. And so we've got Chief Uzeloc from the fire department, who's also in charge of our EOC operations at this moment, and we'll be giving you the majority of what is going on in terms of the entire operating picture. And then we've got Director of Roads, Troy Macleod, who's here to speak to the road situation, and our Director, Dave Griffiths, from Waste and Recycling. As you can see, this is a significant debris situation, and he will be giving an update on that. And then finally, related to our power situation, we'll have from ENMAX, our direct communications, Ms. Woodcock, who is going to give the update on what our situation is related to the power in the city and how we're moving forward with that. So I'll introduce for you, first of all, Chief Uzeloc.
Thank you, Cindy. So we've made some pretty good progress this morning. And as mentioned, we'll have Roads, Waste and Recycling, and ENMAX come up and provide some updates after that. First, I want to reiterate what Mayor Nenshi stated, that emergency issues, please call 911. Again, that's life-threatening emergencies. That is trees that are down on power lines where they're sparking. If they're not sparking, we want to direct those to 311. Those get prioritized based on how severe they are and what they are, and then the work task force that we have out dealing with that will get those in short order to ENMAX or to our own city crews. At one point this morning, we did have quite a queue on the 911 system. That has been taken care of, and all emergency calls have been dealt with and are back to a normal state. We have brought in additional dispatchers here to the backup center for 911 at the EOC to help with that call volume. Just to give you some idea of what that is, the Calgary Fire Department has had 1,800 calls since noon yesterday when we opened the EOC. That's roughly 10 times their regular amount. Some citizens may be experiencing difficulty getting their telephones due to the power outages. And again, that's because a lot of people now have gone to the cordless phone systems. We would encourage people to have a, and I think I'm dating myself, old style phone that plugs directly into a jack as a backup part of their emergency preparedness kits to make sure that they can use their phone system in the event of a power outage. Barring that, if you don't have a cell phone, we would encourage people to be good neighbors and let your cell phone be borrowed by your neighbors. And if you know people who are vulnerable, maybe go and just have a check on them to make sure they're okay. Parks is currently assessing regional pathways and parks, and there may be some closures due to public safety regarding that. So we would encourage people to check at calgary.ca for updates on that and any closures that may be coming. There are several pools and arenas closed due to power outages. Canyon Meadows Pool, Sir Winston Churchill Pool, Killarney Pool, and Foothills Pool. And arena closures include McCool, Bush Bower, Stu Prepard, and Whalen, and the Wildflower Art Center are all closed at this time. So again, monitor calgary.ca and those updates will be provided there. Safety, we know that some of you want to clear debris. And what we would recommend is safety is paramount. So if you don't have the right equipment, the right type of training to do that, leave that for now. Let's take care of that later. Anything that's life-threatening, again, 911. When you're doing this, if the tree is on your own property, that needs to be addressed by the homeowners. If there are trees that are down onto public sidewalks, public walkways, or there's city trees that are down, call 311 and we'll get those into the queue. And waste and recycling will be commenting more about how to manage some of that debris. So right now I'll turn it over to Director Troy Macleod from the Roads Department.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chief. Roadways are wet and slushy. All our service personnel are on the roadways applying sand and plowing. Conditions are favorable for road conditions. There are 60 traffic signals that are still out. 70 have been repaired, and we have generators at key locations, as well as Calgary Police Service is providing great assistance in operating major intersections like Crowchild Trail and 24th Avenue. Major roadways that are affected with traffic signals include John Laurie Boulevard, Heritage Drive, Southland Drive, Blackfoot Trail, Bow Trail, and interchanges along Crowchild Trail. All buses are running, 60-minute delays in some locations, and one route, Route 13, is detoured. LRT service has minimal delays and is operating effectively. We ask travelers to just, again, be aware of road conditions, take your time, operate intersections that are out of power in a four-way manner, and just be patient. And thank you very much. If you have any questions afterwards, I'm available. I will turn it over, to ENMAX. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So at this point, we have approximately 26,000 customers that are still without power. And again, as I had reported earlier, that for the most part is along the along the west side of the city, both north and south, as well as the southeast for the most part. The northeast has experienced some issues, but not to the same degree. So we're not out of the woods yet, and we do appreciate everyone's patience as we try to work our way through this. We do remind everyone that safety is our biggest concern. If people do see sparking or downed power lines, to then call 911. If they see lines that, if they see trees on lines but no sparks and the line itself is not down, to call 311 instead, please. Also, if there is an issue with the power line that runs from the pole directly to your house, we do have a special number set up for that, and we ask people to call 403-258-8232 to report that so that we can address it for you. And I want to just give people a little bit of an idea of what's causing the issues for us, and certainly snow at this time of the year is not common, and that's where the issue really lies, because as the snow is accumulating on the leaves and really pushing the branches down onto power lines, that is where we're experiencing the issues, and that's what's causing a lot of the outages. Many people have had their power restored only for it to go out again, or have had flickering lights. We've had some wires that have been galloping as well due to some winds. So there's lots of things that we've been dealing with, and we do have extra crews on, as well as staff in our control center that continue to work very hard on the situation. Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Griffiths, Director of Waste and Recycling Services, and I can report that since the early morning hours today, Waste and Recycling Services, we've teamed up with our friends in Roads, Water Services, and Parks, and we've created teams to go around the city. The primary focus has been to clear our road right-of-ways, sidewalks, public space has been that priority, and we've been making some tremendous progress with those teams. They will keep at it through the day, and we're going to take stock of things as certainly as the day goes on. What we would ask of residents, of course, reinforce the safety messages. Please be careful taking care of your tree limbs. I would ask that if you have the ability to cut them up a little bit, we're formulating plans, debris management plans, tree cleanup plans to figure out how we will get the city cleaned up as quickly as we can after this incident, and we'll have more news on that as we develop those plans. We would ask people to cut their limbs at least no more than 4 feet at this point. You can start to put them out at your regular location, collection location at your residences. Please do not put them in your black, blue, or if you've got them, green carts. We run the risk of breaking the carts, and more importantly, or as importantly, is breaking our vehicles that if they're in those carts. And we want to be able to maintain our operations and work on the plan to get those collected over time. The other thing that we would ask is that again, we're putting together our cleanup plans. The carts are not to be the vehicle for that. Our landfills, we began yesterday, in fact, that our landfills are open this time of year. They continue to open 7 days a week, and we will be continuing that, of course, and there will be no charges for anybody who has the ability, including contractors that are assisting in this process, residents, anybody over this next period of time. Till further notice, there will be no charges for those for people delivering materials to our landfill sites, our 3 landfill sites, Spy Hill, East Calgary, and Shepherd sites. That's for clean tree loads. We want to be able to manage those and in the future chip them up and mulch them up. So I think those are the key elements right now, and plans are progressing for a larger cleanup. We're getting tremendous assistance from a variety of the operations throughout the city and beyond. So I'd be available for questions after as well.
Can you talk about the queue? You mentioned before that there was a backlog of callers and people were experiencing delays. I'm just curious how long that queue lasted and just how unusual that is for your specialist.
Well, different events will spark a queue for a variety of reasons. A windstorm, a sudden rainstorm. This is no different. So the queue was, we have about 500 to 700 service requests at this time that are types of calls coming in for, there's a tree down on a roadway. It's not impacting a severe public safety impact, so it's not an emergency call, but it is on a roadway. So those types are the queues that are backed up that we're dealing with now.
I'm just curious, is there any data in terms of if there's been an increase in people being injured in terms of weather-related issues, whether it's branches falling or people slipping or anything like that?
No, we have no indications at all on injuries or, again, and certainly no inquiries of fatalities related to this event at all. So it's been, and I do want to commend Calgarians again, because usually in this type of a snow event, early in the season like this, we'd have a large number of motor vehicle collisions, and we have not. So Calgarians are really doing a great job of taking their time, following the right procedures at intersections where there are no traffic control lights, and just slowing down. So that's been a tremendous help.
Question on roads.
Yes.
Director Macleod, I know this is early, but how do you, there's going to be a massive cleanup, and how do you think this is going to affect your budget for road maintenance and clearing roads?
Well, we have staff on for snow and ice management. The resources will be diverted to cleanup efforts as we watch forecasts and whatnot. Right now, they're focused on sanding and salting and getting the priority 2 and 3 routes done. Priority 1s are done for today as snow is dissipating, so we're moving to P2 and P3 routes. And then once those are cleared and sidewalks and whatnot and all the handwork is done, we'll be supporting our partners in clearing the branches and whatnot from boulevards and from other areas. So we'll continue to do that. And again, budget questions right now, it is a bit premature. We want to get all the work done. We don't have an estimate as to how much debris is out there yet, but we'll be getting that information as we work this.
Are you anticipating to call in contractors to help out in this effort in cleaning that?
Are we calling in contractors? There certainly is contractors already on standby with our operation and other operations, so they are supporting and providing that assistance. Again, other staff within the City of Calgary are being diverted from work that they do to provide support for debris cleaning as well as other work that's needed. Yeah.
Troy, there's a lot of common sense. I think if people see a lot of trees blocking the roads sort of thing, do you have a list maybe on the website of actual roads that are closed, just so people can know, I don't know, they need to pick up a friend or a relative or something?
The information on the website does, the question is, is there debris on the road and do we have information about where that debris is? Yes, we do. For major roads, we have any closed roads or things that are blocked from debris, and that is posted. There is also information posted on the website as to where we're getting reports of downed trees or trees that have fallen and areas where it is on the roadway, so that is being put on the website. Again, just to reiterate, safety first. If you don't have the training and whatnot, allow crews to do that work. They are trained, and just to be safe, look out for each other, and help your neighbor out obviously as well.
Do you know how many roads are closed?
We don't have any. We had Sifton Boulevard closed. We had earlier. There aren't any major roadways closed. We do have some impacts, obviously, on major roads. 60 intersections are still out. That's only 5% of our signal inventory, but we have 60 out now. Generators are at key locations, so those will be being brought up. We have over 70 that have been repaired to date for intersections throughout the city, and we continue to see improvement in the network as well. So very favorable and excellent work by the crews to get this work done quickly, and our partners as well at ENMAX Restoring Power.
Sorry, I think my tooth was covering my ears. I heard 16, so it's 60 are still out.
Yes, over 60. I think it's 61 at the last count, and then those are being repaired as power comes on, and generators are providing alternate power at this point, as well as our partners at Calgary Police Service are providing intersection support for key locations in intersections like Crowchild Trail and 24th Avenue.
So did I hear correctly that already today 70 have been put back in service?
Over 72 signals have been repaired over the last 2 days, and we continue to repair signals as they come in. Some are going offline as power goes out.
And my last number question was, you gave the number, how many does that 61 represent of our total traffic signals?
Approximately 5% of the traffic signal operations in the City of Calgary. So a low number, but when it's on a major road, it has a major impact. Yeah.
Question for ENMAX. Doris, how long do you think before all the power's going to be back on? Or some neighborhoods are going to take longer than others? Give us an idea.
The question was how long it would take for the power to get back on, and whether there was any neighborhoods in particular that would be, triaged over others. The long story short there is that we really are focusing on the largest, the feeders that actually have the largest number of customers or number of metered sites on them is how we're focusing our efforts first, and then we will work our way down to feeders that have fewer customers on them. That it's hard for me to say any particular area, because that really is spread out throughout the city, depending on what the configuration is. And as far as the length of time it might take to actually restore customers is difficult to say at this point. Clearly, the weather is still a factor outside, and even for our crews to actually get to where they need to go, well, they're battling the road conditions themselves, et cetera. And even though we have extra staff that we've brought on board to make sure that we can address as many outages as possible, but it's still a little bit of we're not out of the woods yet. Let's put it that way.
Is there one area that is the largest that you can?
You know what, there isn't. There are some feeders that have several thousand customers on them, and then there's other feeders that might only have a few hundred in comparison. So clearly we would want to get the feeders up and running that have several thousand customers on them, or in areas where it's particularly impacting traffic signals or traffic lights, et cetera. So definitely focusing our areas on probably the most important pieces first, and then following up with those secondary areas.
Doris, to give us an idea of the magnitude of the problem, do you need to bring in crews from outside of Calgary, or do you have enough with just basically everybody working flat out?
The question was the magnitude of the problem and whether or not we needed to bring in reinforcements. ENMAX does have service level agreements with partner agencies to bring them in as extra resources when we need to. We have done that already with some resources that are locally available to us here in town. But we also have service agreements in place with other agencies outside of the city so that if in fact we need to bring them in as well, they are ready and willing and able to do that. The question is how much we spend on tree pruning to protect the integrity of the electrical system. I don't know the exact answer to that, I'll be completely honest. That said, we do regularly trim trees that are interfering with power lines on a year-round basis. In this particular situation, again, snow is not uncommon in Calgary, this level of it, but not at this time of the year, when a lot of it is caught and weighing down the leaves and the branches onto the power lines. And so in some cases, people have experienced momentary power outages as those branches or leaves are touching the lines and then are released again, perhaps as some of the snow is sliding off, only to accumulate again and perhaps have a problem yet again. So it's an ongoing issue.
So what do these power outage caused by this snow event, I guess, indicate about that tree pruning program? Is there, I guess, a reason to maybe look at it a little bit further in order to deal with something like this in the future?
Mm-hmm. So the tree trimming that we do year-round is overall quite effective. Again, typically we just don't have this amount of snow accumulating at this time of the year, and because there's quite a bit of leaves that are still on the trees. I mean, really, the trees haven't actually shed those leaves yet for the fall, and so it's catching all of that heavy, wet snow and pushing them down onto the power lines. So it's not so much a question of our tree trimming program as it is the weather conditions at a time of year when we don't typically see this kind of level of snow.
I've got a question for Ken. I'm not sure if it's your wheelhouse, but what potential liability does the city face for the damages caused by trees on public property that have fallen onto houses or cars or things like that?
Well, I don't want to speculate at this time what that may look like. Obviously, our city has a claims department, and any time that citizens think that, as a result of city services or city property, there's been damage to theirs, they go through that claims process, and claims works with them to resolve that.
I don't know if you can address the fact that people should be watching the next couple of days. We may see snow in today, but trees can still break in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
You can talk about that, how people need to be looking up, right, to make sure that they're...
Sure, the question is about the next few days and what people should do. Absolutely, safety is again, the whole premise of our priority is safety. So, once this settles down a bit, people need to be conscious that those branches may have been pushed past their limit. They may be very fragile. If we happen to get a quick freeze, they could become even brittle. So people need to take care of not being right under their trees when they're doing work, try to avoid being under the branches when you're doing work. If you're not trained and experienced in it, try to contact an arborist to come and do that, or a landscaper to come and do that work for you. We want to see people safe. Hopefully we're past the thrust of it, and let's hope that, everything downhill, nobody's been hurt. Let's hope we keep it that way.
Okay, that's all my questions, guys. Just going to let you know, thank you very much for coming, and we will be having another briefing shortly after 3. We will be sending out a media advisory, so if you can plan your afternoon for sometime after 3, we'd like to get information out before people start their commute home, and of course we want to reinforce people to consider leaving on their commute a little early. So we're hoping to get to you this afternoon. Thanks.
ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਅਨਐਕਸਪੈਕਟਡ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਨੋ ਪਈ ਆ ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਬਣੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੇਰੇ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਤੇ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਕਾਫੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਖਤਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਟਾਹਣੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਟੁੱਟ ਕੇ ਸੜਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਡਿੱਗੀਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਆ। ਸਾਈਡਵੇਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਾਈਡ ਵਾਕਸ ਆ ਉਹ ਬੰਦ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਆ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਹੋਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦਰਖਤ ਆ ਉਹ ਕਈ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਵਹੀਕਲਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਡਿੱਗੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਸੜਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਡਿੱਗੇ ਪਏ ਆ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵਿਤ ਹੋ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਹੋਈ ਪ੍ਰੈਸ ਕਾਨਫਰੰਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਆ ਸਿਟੀ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਾਸੀ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਬਲਿਕ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੀ ਅਗਰ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ। ਜੇ ਉਹ ਅੱਜ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੀ ਰਸ਼ ਆਵਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅਵੋਇਡ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਰਸ਼ ਹੋਵੇ। ਸੋ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਅਵੋਇਡ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਜਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੰਮ ਤੋਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਦੇਰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਨਿਕਲੋ ਜਾਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਦੇਰ ਬਾਅਦ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਆ 911 ਦੇ ਕਾਲ ਸਿਰਫ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਐਕਚੁਅਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪਹੁੰਚਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕੇ ਅਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਣ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜੇ 311 ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਨੌਨ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆ ਉਹ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਆ ਸਿਟੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ। ਸੋ ਉੱਥੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਕੰਸਰਨ, ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੋਈ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਿਲ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ, ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਦਰਖਤ ਡਿੱਗਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੜਕ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਰਿਪੋਰਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਬਿਜਲੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਾਵਰ ਆਊਟੇਜ ਕਈ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਲਾਈਟਸ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਬੰਦ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀਆਂ। ਸੋ ਕਾਫੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ 'ਤੇ ਐਨਮੈਕਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਠੀਕ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ, ਪਰ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਲੋਕੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਆ, ਕਰੀਬ 60 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਲੋਕੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਉਹ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਚਾਲੂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਸਕੀ, ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਠੀਕ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਜਾਰੀ ਆ। ਐਨਮੈਕਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਔਰ ਸਿਟੀ ਰੋਡਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਨਰੇਟਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਾਈਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਆ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ। ਸੋ ਇਹਦੇ ਚਲਦੇ ਇਹ ਪੁਰਜ਼ੋਰ ਅਪੀਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਆਇਡੈਂਟੀਫਾਈ ਕਰੋ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਖਤਰਾ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ। ਅਗਰ ਇਮੀਡੀਏਟ ਮਤਲਬ ਉਸੇ ਵੇਲੇ ਅਗਰ ਕੋਈ ਖਤਰਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ 911 'ਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ। ਅਗਰ ਕੋਈ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤਾਰਾਂ ਟੁੱਟ ਕੇ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਤਾਰਾਂ ਟੁੱਟ ਕੇ ਡਿੱਗ ਗਈਆਂ ਆ ਅਤੇ ਉਹ ਸਪਾਰਕਿੰਗ ਕਰ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹ 911  'ਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਪਰ ਅਗਰ ਉਹ ਤਾਰਾਂ ਟੁੱਟ ਚੁੱਕੀਆਂ ਔਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੋਈ ਸਪਾਰਕਿੰਗ ਵਗੈਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ 311 ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਾਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਿਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਇਨਫੋਰਮ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਟੁੱਟਿਆ ਹੋਣ ਬਾਰੇ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਅਗਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਘਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਤਾਰਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਤੱਕ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਤਾਰਾਂ ਉਹ ਟੁੱਟ ਗਈਆਂ, ਉਹਦੇ ਲਈ ਐਨਮੈਕਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਲੱਗ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਆ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਰਵਿਸਿਜ਼ ਆ ਉਹ ਇਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ। ਮੇਅਰ ਨਹੀਦ ਨੈਂਸ਼ੀ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੀ ਇਹੀ ਪੁਰਜ਼ੋਰ ਅਪੀਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ 911 ਦੀ ਸਹੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ ਔਰ ਬੜੀ ਹੀ ਸਾਵਧਾਨੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਸੰਜਮ ਰੱਖ ਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੱਲਿਆ ਜਾਵੇ, ਕਾਹਲੀ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਨਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਵੇ। ਔਰ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚੀਫ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਲਈ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾਈ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਸ ਵਾਰੀ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸੰਜਮ ਰੱਖਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਔਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟਸ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਘੱਟ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਇਸ ਵਾਰੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੇ ਆ ਇਸ ਮੌਸਮ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹਰ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਮੌਸਮ ਖਰਾਬ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹਾਲਾਤ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੋਕ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸਪੀਡ ਆ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਭਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਔਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਐਕਸੀਡੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਲਾਈਟ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਨਾਂ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਲਾਈਟਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ, ਸੋ ਉੱਥੇ ਬੜੇ ਸੰਜਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ 4-ਵੇ ਸਟਾਪ ਦੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਟਰੀਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਰੂਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਹੋਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਵੱਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆ ਉਹ ਧਿਆਨ ਦਿਵਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ। ਐਨਮੈਕਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਕੋਈ ਟਾਈਮ ਫਰੇਮ ਚਾਹੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਏਰੀਏ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੋਕ ਰਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਪਾਵਰ ਸਪਲਾਈ ਉਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਚਾਲੂ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੀ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਛੋਟੇ ਏਰੀਆਜ਼ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਚਾਲੂ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ। ਸੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਹੋਈਆਂ। ਸੋ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੀਟਿੰਗ ਉਹ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਸੀ। ਸੋ ਮੈਂ ਚੱਕਦੇ ਟੀਵੀ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਦਰਸ਼ਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਦੇ ਰੂਲਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਨੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਇੱਕ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਬਣੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸੜਕਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਦਰਖਤ ਡਿੱਗਣ ਕਰਕੇ ਲੇਨਸ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਬੰਦ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਆ, ਸਾਈਡ ਵਾਕਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਬੰਦ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀਆਂ ਆ, ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਸਿਗਨਲ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਨਾ ਹੋਣ ਕਰਕੇ। ਸੋ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੀ ਇੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਦਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਆ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਰਵਿਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਜਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਸੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬੜੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਉਹ ਟ੍ਰੈਫਿਕ ਰੂਲਸ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆ ਔਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬੜੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੜੇ ਸੰਯਮ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਡਰਾਈਵਿੰਗ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਐਮਰਜੈਂਸੀ ਸਿਚੁਏਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ 911 ਦੀ ਵਰਤੋਂ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਸੋ ਇੱਥੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਲੈਣਾ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ ਜੀ ਚੱਕਦੇ ਟੀਵੀ ਲਈ ਮੈਂ ਪਰਮਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ